We're at a Sunderland versus Man United match today. Courtesy of this guy.
What's up?
Good looking out.
Tried.
I think we managed to get our hands on some discounted tickets. Is that a fair word to call them?
£27 sounds pretty good to me.
That's pretty good. So we're gonna try and catch Man U versus Sunderland. We're realistically not Sunderland fans. We're not allowed to be because we're from Newcastle. But it's the one chance that we're gonna get to see Premier League games in and around the Newcastle area this year. So that's what we're doing. Got myself a greedy half-pound cheeseburger, and I just like it because greedy and burger are in the same sentence, and that works really, really well for me. That's all I have to say. Bye. I didn't realize British people tailgated like this. This is pretty severe. This is extensive. Hey guys, this is Manny. Welcome to my channel. I was gonna vlog the Manchester United versus Sunderland match, and about halfway, about 10 minutes into it, I realized nobody really cared what was gonna happen between Man U and Sunderland, and I just didn't really want to. Sunderland got spanked, Man U got 3 points. They're like up here, it's like Man U like 5th place in the league, and Sunderland at the bottom of the league. So realistically, that went exactly where we're expecting it to go. Now, what I am going to do today, instead of talking about Man U and Sunderland and some of the other crazy stuff going on in the world, I am going to tell a little bit of a story. It's not a great story, it's not like a really inspiring or insightful or even really funny story. It's just kind of a very honest story. In the last few days, I've been seeing a bunch of different vlogs posting videos about how they got to med school and how they got to where they are now. And this is something I've been asked a couple of times to do. A few people have asked me to do things like get to know you tags. People have asked me like how I got into medical school, what I did, etc., like what my path was like. Now, I've been really reluctant to tell my story up to this point because my story is kind of lame. Yeah, my story is just straight up lame. It's not really one of those ones that's like I would love for my story to be like, I crossed a mountain and I crossed the ocean and I applied to the school and when all hope was almost gone and all was almost lost, I got the acceptance letter across the ocean again saying that I got it. I really wish I had a cool story like that. I don't. The way my story starts is that when I was 12 years old, I saw this red sports car and for some reason I associated it with a doctor. It was the most purest of intentions. I just associated that red sports car with a doctor, and I associated the fact that what I wanted to do then was to become a doctor. Now, this is probably one of the worst pieces of motivation anybody's ever developed for anything. And as the years went by, I'd realized very quickly it was pretty terrible motivation. It was not enough at all to keep me motivated towards this whole med school dream. Fast forward a few years. Side note, my parents are both original African parents. Anybody who knows African parents in general knows that if you ever tell your African parent that you want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, they will go home, they will thank God, they will say a prayer of Thanksgiving, they will cook a Thanksgiving lamb, and they'll be really excited just by the general prospect that the kid wants to be a doctor. Anyway, that was the easy part of the story. That was before things, it got interesting. So that was 12 years old, fast forward to high school, started getting into a bunch of different things. Nothing crazy, just a bunch of different interests and stuff like that. I was playing a bit more sports, singing in choirs, singing in bands, stuff like that. Just kind of dabbling with stuff. I still wanted to go to medical school, but I wasn't necessarily as driven for it. And like I said, my dad was super excited about it. So at this point, he was like, he was like looking up schools and looking up acceptance rates and looking up, stats and looking up exams and stuff to take. And I was like, cool, sure. Anyway. Went through high school, did everything I needed to do, came out of high school with a really good GPA. I was like an honor roll student, like 85 average, that type of thing. I was fairly lazy about it, but I made it happen. Got my 85, got out of high school. I went to the University of Ottawa, did my undergrad in health sciences there. full plan was to do health sciences and to go to med school right after that. Now, like I said, coming out of high school, I was a little bit lazy with my undergrad, with my high school marks. And like I did what I needed to do, but it was like I could have probably done better if I applied myself a little bit more. Now this just kind of carried on through university. This is where the story gets lame, and this is where the story gets very self-conscious on my part. So what ended up happening is that I went to university and I did everything, as far as everything I needed to do to get through university, I did it. But doing everything you need to do versus excelling at something, those are two very, very different concepts. The type of work ethic that I had in undergrad and the type of energy that I put into undergrad was nowhere near enough to even fathom, to even justify. If somebody, the way I was in undergrad, if somebody was to start a conversation about, oh, what med school would you like to go to? Honestly, I couldn't even honestly say with much justification that I wanted to go to any med school, just because I just wasn't putting in the time and effort the way I should have been. I remember one of the things that sticks out to me the most. This is hilarious. If you're an undergrad, you know exactly how this feels. Around second or third year, you suddenly feel like you need to start kind of getting your shit together. It was third year, like early third year, and I went to see my academic advisor. Her name was Joanne. Great lady, realistically, but anyway. Her name was Joanne. I went to go see her. Told her I wanted to go to medical school. She pulls up my GPA. She puts it up on the computer in front of her. She looks at it. She looks at me. She looks at it. She looks at me. She looks at it. She looks at me. She goes, ah. And like she all but laughed at me, you know. She all but laughed at me when I said I wanted to go to medical school. And I remember being so scarred in that day. I remember being so hurt and so upset and so this, that, and the other. And I was like, Joanne, you're terrible. And this, that, and the other. I'm gonna come back and show you, Joanne. You're awful, Joanne. You're meanest thing ever. You're just the worst thing ever. And I realized, I didn't realize it then. I realized it a couple years later that was just a really, 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 really misplaced sense of entitlement. I somehow had the idea that I could just kind of skate by through university, and when I wanted to go to medical school, would just apply and just pull some sort of string from the sky that would say, yes, you get in, Mr. Market. You are, in fact, our most treasured applicant, and we will give you full ride scholarship to every medical school in the country. False. Fully just false. So I left her office. Felt terrible. Basically, she was like, you don't have much of a chance unless you do some, like, I don't know, supreme extra schooling, like go and save 3 lives, study 17 whales, and like, you know, do a PhD. I had realistically not much of a shot. So at that point, I just took it as that. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to med school. And this is where some of the rest of my story comes in. I ended up taking a year and a half off of school when I finished my undergrad, and that was because I didn't really know what I was doing with my life at that point. I was 21.
21?
Didn't really know where I was going with my life. I finished my undergrad, and I just kind of needed some direction. And I was like, if I'm not going to med school, which apparently never took very seriously in the first place, I started singing and I started making music and I started recording with a band, and I was a front man for a band for a little while, and I was writing my own songs. I was learning to play the guitar on my own. I was teaching myself music and teaching myself stuff like that, and it was really, really cool. And it was really, really promising. There was a lot of fun and a lot of energy being put into it, but it wasn't as directed enough to really make anything out of it. And so I kind of went through a bit of an identity crisis, trying to figure out where I was going, trying to figure out what I was doing. And like, that's not new to 20-year-olds. You know, I shouldn't act like I'm the first person to ever be like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But it was not something I expected myself to go through. I always just kind of figured that I'd have a really strong sense of direction from the get-go, from the jump, and know exactly what I was doing. Turns out it was false. Still barely know what I'm doing, but I'm here now. In the year off, I moved up north, moved to northern Canada. For those of you who don't know, I'll put a picture. Put a map of where I was. Tiny little town of like 7,000 people in the capital of Nunavut. I got a job up there with the Department of Health. I was working with mental health. It was cool. I got to see, like, I wasn't front line mental health. I was more of like policy and desk, and I got to see people who actually knew what they were doing as far as, you know, policy making stuff. I got to kind of see what they did, latched onto some of their work, tried to take a couple ideas from them, that kind of thing. I tried to just develop myself in that way. Eventually, eventually the idea came to just give the med school thing a shot again. And I had no clue how I was going to go about it. I realized my undergrad GPA was absolute garbage. Like, my GPA was a passing GPA, but like, there was nobody in the country who was looking at my application based on the GPA that I had. And I was like, I either have to do a master's and a PhD and a bunch of other stuff before I can even consider this, or have to find some sort of alternative. Now, my MCAT score is actually really good. I was like the 95th percentile for verbal reasoning, apparently. I must have been a dumb year. So it was for me, it was like my undergrad wasn't necessarily a reflection of what I was genuinely capable of. And I just never, I don't know, I let my undergrad kind of define where I was going and what my trajectory was. So I threw a couple applications together, throwing some applications together for schools in Ireland, throwing some applications together for schools in Canada, and I put some together for SGU. And it turns out that SGU gave me a shot. Now, with SGU was a condition. The condition was that I would do the Foundation of Medicine program, and that would be to ensure that I actually had what it takes to take on a medical education. Did the Foundation of Medicine, went to Grenada for 4 months, went in, busted my ass. Came out of it, they sent the letter saying you've been accepted to medical school. They sent the letter saying that you are in fact a potential medical school candidate. When I saw the letter, I thought I was gonna cry, because it was like, cool, somebody is giving me a shot. You know what I mean? Somebody's giving me a shot. Not a shot at definitely, inevitably, whatever, becoming a doctor. Not a shot at, not like a free pass. It was like all I realistically wanted, all I really wanted was for somebody to give me a shot at the chance to work towards it. And that's exactly how it played out with the school I'm at now. I've been given a shot to work towards it. I've been given a shot to work towards something that a lot of people would be really, really, really envious to work towards. And my plan now, my goal now at this point is to just make sure I make the absolute best on the little opportunity I've gotten, and make sure that I take this tiny little opportunity and just plant it like a massive, just plant it like a seed and make it like grow into something really, really, really massive. And that's realistically where my head is at now, So that's the point of the vlog. That's the point of the MD that I'm taking out right now. And at the end of all this, I remember thinking for the longest time that I wanted to go back to Joanne and just shove it in her face and be like, screw you, Joanne, this, that, and the other. You told me I couldn't make it. And I realized in the last 8 hours that I've been considering doing this video, I realized that honestly, she wasn't wrong. At that point, I won't lie to you, at that point I was delusional if I thought that, that GPA was taking me anywhere as far as med school goes. And at this point, I would just love to go back to Joanne once this whole MD is over and be like, you know what, thank you, you gave me a wake-up call. It was a terrible wake-up call, severe ego shot, severe slap in the face, but I appreciated it, and it drove me to where I'm at now. Whew, all right, so like I said, that was probably the lamest story I've ever had to tell anybody, and it sucks. And one of two things is gonna happen now. You're either gonna be like, cool, I'm following halfway like that, and you'll stop following me. Don't want you to stop following me, because why would we do that? Or if you are anything like me, or if you are of the belief that success isn't necessarily a straightforward path, then you'll stick around. My dad used to tell me that success is just not, it's not a straightforward path. You think success is 1, 2, 3, but success is like that. You go backwards, you go down, you go up. I'm on a cool path right now, and I'm pretty grateful to be here. And my plan and my goal is just to make the absolute best out of it and to turn it into something amazing. Thank you so much for the time today and for watching the video. And we will get back to some really, really, really cool stuff about days in med school in the coming weeks. I've been watching all kinds of stuff on Adobe Premiere Pro, and we're going to start putting some really cool stuff together for you guys. And it's going to be great. Hopefully didn't depress you too much. Hopefully didn't, bring it down too much. Hopefully this story was minorly inspiring, Inspiring. Okay, I'm gonna get to class. I have a big week ahead. We got an exam next week, and that means that your boy needs to get back to work so that this story that I just told you doesn't have to repeat itself. I love you so much. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, because we're doing something big here, and it's going to be special. I keep telling you, I keep promising you, it's going to be special. Love you so much, guys. Take care.